Do you want to discover more joy, peace, and freedom with food, exercise, in your body? Here we bring a compassionate, holistic, and sustainable approach to fitness so you can fully enjoy the life you want and express your unique self with the world. I'm Michelle Roscoe, and I want to help you find fitness freedom. I'm so glad you're here.
Turning comparison into compassion. If you are like me, and I believe others as well, you have felt the frustration of seeing someone else maybe who's similar enough to you where you could fairly compare yourself to them, and they are doing, in your eyes, so much better than you are. Maybe they have more of something that you feel like you're lacking, and you end up feeling really frustrated, discouraged, and down on yourself. Ask me how I know. In this episode, I want to give you some context and some tips to help you turn comparison into compassion. So, especially in your fitness and your health, your body, if there's any area where comparison seeps through, it is definitely with our bodies. One reason is because our bodies are something that we always have with us. We carry it around with us. It is invisible to others. And in society, unfortunately, we have created these standards of good and bad bodies. Typically in a lot of cultures, especially in the Western culture, thinner is better, or stronger is better, or fitter is better. Whereas in fact, all bodies are good, and there is nothing wrong with yours. I just have to say that and put that in there. But even in the way that we eat, I eat healthier than you. I don't eat that. I don't eat that much. I eat this much. Or I exercise this much and you don't. Or you might even look at social media, and this is a rampant place for comparison, especially because you're just looking at your phone or your screen and you're not really engaging with a person, which can kind of make them less human. So you're looking at your screen, you're scrolling, you see pictures, before and after pictures, or you see reels of these really fit, toned bodies, and you feel frustrated. Oh, I should have that. Or, oh, I wonder. And then they give you some solution like, hey, if you follow this diet, or this is how I lost this weight, or this is what I do to stay fit, blah, 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 blah. And you compare your life with theirs, and maybe you feel discouraged. Sometimes it might even lead you to more unhealthy behaviors where you just say, fuck it, I can't do that ever. And so you drown your sorrows in a bag of potato chips or a box of cookies or whatever, or you just stay on the couch and then you feel a little bit miserable, or maybe you're like, I'm gonna make sure that I'm that person, and it becomes an obsession, and that, which can also be unhealthy. Social media has been shown in studies, especially with younger populations, especially females, women, younger girls, to have a negative outcome for their body image and their eating behaviors. A lot of disordered eating can come out from being really active on social media, especially in the fitness and health side of things. And you know what? Like, I'm in the fitness world. I'm a health coach, and I'm definitely anti-diet, and a lot of fitness culture goes against what I've learned to be true in practice. I'm eating disorder recovery person. I work with people who are recovering from eating disorders, or who are on the spectrum, or have disordered eating. And I even sometimes get marble-eyed, goo goo gaga over some of these things, like, hey, oh, maybe I should be able to do this. Oh, what are they doing? Like, it's so easy in the way that it's framed, and social media is to draw attention to the account so they can get more engagement and get higher likes and follows and purchases and all that stuff. So, not to say it's all bad. There are good things out there on social media. Heck, I'm on social media a lot. It's not a bad place. It doesn't have to be a bad place. You can curate things. But it does lend itself a lot to comparison. There are two types of comparison. There's upward and downward. And I have heard that evolutionarily we compared ourselves to make sure that we would be safe, that we would be well enough to survive in comparison to our social group. So there is like a long-standing kind of a survival instinct around comparison. But a lot of the times, most of the times when we compare ourselves, we are doing what is called an upward comparison. At least I do. Maybe not everyone. Maybe I'm just speaking for myself. Maybe there are people who take a lot more pride and have a lot more confidence in themselves. But so there's two kinds of a comparison, and I'm talking about the upward one right now, where you look at someone who seems to be better off than you, and you look at your own lack, and then you feel discouraged or depressed or guilty or shameful or whatever negative emotion. The downward one is when you compare yourself, and I do this too, honestly, where you look at someone who is what you would consider less than you, or who has less ability or status or possessions or whatever than you, and you feel superior to them. And they can both be negative. The only time where comparison can be positive is when you use it to encourage you or motivate you, like, hey, that person can do it, I can do it too. And that really comes from an abundance mindset, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But if you do genuinely feel happy for others because they have something and you believe that there's plenty of it to go around, then it doesn't mean that their having it is taking away from yours, which I think we all can do, live happier lives with more of an abundance mindset. And I think I might do an episode on this later on, maybe. So there's upward, downward, and like I've mentioned, there's positive comparison and there's negative comparison. Some things that have helped me with comparison, I'm going to just kind of give some ideas, and then in the end, I'm going to tell you what your job is when it comes to comparison. I'm going to give you about 6 things that is your job when it comes to comparison. And I've done this, of course, when I just going back to my eating disorder days. There's this thing called body checking, where you not just do it yourself, where you look in the mirror and you like check if your abs are still there, or if you still have muscle, or you can still wear a certain kind of clothing. Like there's body checks that you do just to try to keep yourself safe, and it's not necessarily a healthy thing. But I remember, especially in my eating disorder days, and I don't do it anymore, but I used to body check other people, where I would go into a room and I would do a quick scan of everyone's bodies. And I wanted to make sure that I was the smallest in the room, or that if I weren't the smallest, that I had reasons for it to make sense that I wasn't the smallest. Like it was a sick game that I played in my head. And I have compassion for myself at that time. I'm not bashing myself. And maybe you've done this too. Maybe in an eating disorder way, or maybe in another way, like who's the best in here? You kind of scan for who's the best, who's the worst, and where do I fit? And I've done it in business as well, where I have people that I look up to, coaches or leaders, or I see people on social media who have so many followers or so many likes, and I think, oh, what do they have that I don't? Or why am I so behind? Or why am I failing so much? I'm such a failure, blah, blah, blah. All those thoughts come up. And one thing that has really helped me is to know that there is no one right way. This is what I talked about last week too, about there's no one right way. So play. But it's true, there's no one right way. We want to know if we're doing it right, if we're following the right steps, if we're checking the whole list off. We want to be able to, have that sense of satisfaction, like get that A+ on our test. You did it right, you got all the answers right. But in life, there's no one right way. Of course, there are things that are more or less harmful, more or less loving, but there's no one exact right way. And even if there were, it wouldn't be the same for everyone, because every single person has a completely different life and a completely different path. So my goal shouldn't be to, or my aim shouldn't be to be like so-and-so or to be better than so-and-so. Like, I'm basing my life in relation to other people's lives. But what about my own life? If I'm constantly only measuring myself by other people, where the heck is my life? Where's my life? And where's your life if you're constantly measuring your progress or your success or your goodness in relation to other people? Another thing that has helped me is to realize that no one is living my exact life. Even if genes are similar, like genetics are similar, even if people are identical twins, no one lives the exact same life. You will have experiences that only you've had, memories that only your body carries, emotions that only you experience in a way that you experience. No one has had your exact life. So it is really unfair of you to compare yourself with someone else who has had a different life, even if some factors are similar, like maybe similar age or similar gender expression or similar nationality or similar occupation or similar body type. No one has the same exact life as you. You are living your own unique life. It doesn't mean that you're alone or that you're not supported. It's actually really cool because no one can do what you can do, and no one can express life in the way that you can uniquely express life. You are an expression of life being lived. Your body is a way for you to enjoy it. And no one can do that like you. How cool is that? Another thing, and these are similar two things, you are not behind and you are not ahead. So the word that I think of that comes up in my mind, and I'm still working through it and working with the times that I do have those big comparison, I don't know, what is it called? Dumps when I'm low because I'm comparing myself with others. I asked my girlfriend recently, I asked her, what's one of my biggest faults that you've noticed? And she said this. She said, you get really low when you compare yourself to others. So when I'm saying that, I can relate to this. I'm not joking. And that's what comes up a lot in my head when I am in that comparison dump. It's like, I'm behind. That phrase comes up. I'm behind. I'm not doing enough. The others are ahead of me. I should be here and I'm not. If they can be here, why can't I not be here? And it's so mean. It's so cruel. How can I be behind in my life? When I'm here, I'm here. I can't be behind. I'm exactly where I am and I'm exactly where I am. And I'm not behind. Yes, growth is possible and we want to keep growing and expanding. That's a part of who we are, but I'm not behind. I'm exactly where I am, and so are you. You're not behind. Remember, go back to there's no one right way and no one is living your exact life. Your goal is to be more of you and to grow in the way that you can grow, but not try to be where anyone else is. Imagine a complex interweb. Let's just say that, life is so complex. If you think about the universe and how many galaxies there are, I do think it's pretty foolish and a little bit small-minded. Sorry, but not sorry. Sorry, I don't mean to call you foolish or small-minded, but the idea, if you believe this, the idea that we are the only beings in this universe, to me, I've never been able to really comprehend that, thinking about how big it is and how much we don't know. And have you ever flown on a plane and looked down? We're like little ants from the sky. Like we're big in our worlds, but when we put things into scope, Earth is a really small planet in a small galaxy in one corner of the universe. So if we think about all that is involved with the universe and all that exists, whether you're spiritual, atheist, agnostic, religious, whatever, just imagine that there's all these things going on and somehow things stay in line. We operate, we meet different people at different times, and somehow things stay in general order. And as we humans make different choices, different paths unfold, kind of like those choose your own adventure books. The point is that you cannot see everything that's happening in the world. You cannot see everything that's happening in the universe or exactly how it's unfolding. And if we go a little bit deeper, and of course, I don't have any solid proof of this, but it in some ways makes sense to me. Of course, you can accept or refute it. Maybe you are on one side very strongly. But if we consider the concept of, our souls being eternal and our consciousness being eternal, and our spirits, the spirits that we live in coming into earth, and the idea of past lives or future lives or iterations, we don't know what has happened in past lives. We don't know what has happened in others' past lives. We don't know what all the energetics of everything that is going on to put certain people in some places and certain people in other places. All of our lessons, our struggles, our gifts, we don't know exactly everything that was put into it. We might be able to see some parts of it, but I think it's safe to say that we do not know everything. So taking that into account when you do have that spirit or that tendency or temptation to compare, just remember that you can't see every single thing. You can't know every single thing that's happening, even in your own life, and what's happening outside of what you can see, and what's happening in other people's lives as well. One more thing that's helped me before I go on to your job and what you could do when the comparison monster goes, why aren't you ahead? What's wrong with you? Where it's missing, is remember that what comes easy to you might be difficult for others, and vice versa. What might be difficult for you might be easy for others. We all have different gifts and different strengths, different weaknesses. So maybe some people, they're like somehow really good at making money, and they've learned that lesson somehow in their past life, their current life, or they're born into privilege. Something about what they're able to do. They're just really good at making money. And maybe that's not your strong suit, but maybe you're really good at talking to people and you're really good at being personable. Maybe someone else is really bad at taking care of their health and their body, and maybe that's something that comes a little bit more naturally to you, or a little bit more intuitive and in tune with your body. Just somehow you were kind of born with this gift that you practiced it, or you learned it. Just know that we all have different strengths and weaknesses, and to compare your biggest weakness with someone else's strength is unfair, or to compare your biggest strength with someone else's biggest weakness is unfair. And that's where the idea of compassion and kindness and working together and supporting one another comes in. Okay, so I'm going to just say, of course, there's so many things, and you can take all these tips that I gave you, but I just want to be clear on what my job is for myself and what your job is for yourself. And before I get into that, Lao Tzu, I had my old laptop before the screen broke. God bless Apple's Macs. I had this quote in my sticky notes by Lao Tzu that says, "When you are content to be simply yourself and don't compare or compete, everyone will respect you." And you probably can imagine, or at least picture in your mind, the feeling of someone who's like that, who just is so themselves, and they don't try to compete with anyone else, or they don't compare, and you do respect them, whether you don't like certain parts of them, or you do, you respect those people. And I want to be more like that. And I have been told that I have a sense of confidence. I do know that I have that, and I also have this tendency to compare. So hey, strength and weakness. Okay, so your job, my job. What do we got to do? Okay, first of all, know your inherent worth. And I know that's easier said than done. That's why I created the 4-H method, to help you practice your worth and get more deep into it, regardless of how you look or how you eat or how much you exercise or anything external, or even deeper than that, any part of your life that you have or you don't have. practicing that worthiness, knowing that you are inherently worthy. Know that you are worthy just as a human being, regardless of your strengths, your weaknesses. Those are all great and additional to making your life more fun and more exciting. But you, as a human being, you are worthy just existing. I think if everyone got this, if more of us got this, the world would be such a better place. And that's why the 4-H method is my mission to share with the world. You are worthy and you are powerful. Okay, next one, your job. Know your inherent worth. Next one, get in the habit, especially if you are pretty critical of yourself. And to be honest, a lot of self-inflation comes from a small ego. So maybe this will help you. Don't do it with you don't necessarily need to do it with other people, but with yourself. Praise yourself. Get in the habit of praising yourself. Thinking about, hey, what am I proud of? What did I value about myself today? What did I do today that makes me proud? What do I like about myself? And for a lot of us, especially those of us who have maybe a lower body image or who have struggled with exercise and food and our weight and our appearance, and I understand, I've been there, it's difficult. A lot of us find it hard to see good things about ourselves, or we only see good things in maybe our work, or maybe our parenting, or or our friendships. Like, we can only see it in certain styles. But if we can expand praising ourselves in all areas of our life, we will start to appreciate ourselves more. And when we appreciate ourselves more, we're less likely to compare or compete, because we know that we're doing good by ourselves. Not on our own, but by ourselves. We're doing good by ourselves. And one of the mainstay habits in the 4-H method is something that helps with this every single day. So come join and find out what that is. The next thing, the third thing, be able to teach yourself, practice giving yourself unconditional love and receiving it from others. So sometimes we can, be kind to ourselves, but it's hard for us to receive that kindness from others, or vice versa. Practice unconditional love. What is it like to love yourself, to be on your own side when you make a mistake, or when you are successful, when you're, hitting all your goals, or you're doing everything right, quote unquote, or when you're messing up and when you're failing, so to speak, or when everything just feels difficult? That's when you have a real opportunity to love yourself unconditionally. And in that vein, putting yourself in relationships and communities and places where you do have that unconditional love and acceptance, where it's not conditional, that can be so super important. And remember, it is your choice of where you allow yourself to be and what relationships you choose. And if something is not helpful for you or not loving for you, you can take care of yourself and remove yourself from that situation. And those things are more internal. Know your inherent worth. Get in the habit of praising yourself, and give yourself and allow yourself to receive unconditional love. And further than that, a little bit more towards the action or the moving forward part, are 3 other things. So first, be clear on your own vision and desires. Be clear on what you're meant to do. Be clear on what you want to do in this earth, what change you want to create, who you want to be, how you want to serve others, what you want to give to the world, what kind of life you want to live. Being clear on that makes it easier for you not to care about what other people are doing, because you're on the right path for you. So be clear on your vision and desires. That will definitely help you not compare or compete, because it's unique to you. Next is trust yourself step by step. So you don't need to be in a certain place to be okay. You can be right here where you are, and you can trust yourself to take the next best step forward as you listen to yourself, as you trust yourself, as you use discernment and wisdom in what is happening. And that also comes with being clear first on what your visions and desires are. And then the last thing that will absolutely help dilute comparison or competition in a negative way is support and cheer other people. Support and cheer other people on, especially if they are doing something or they have something that you wish you had or that you feel is lacking. Almost every single manifestation teacher or like energy person that I've heard says that when you are jealous or you try to put other people down for having what you want, you're kind of reinforcing that back onto yourself. And again, it goes back to that abundance. There's enough for them to have a lot. There's enough for you to have a lot. There's enough for them to grow. There's enough for you to grow. It's not a competition. There are not these limited resources where only, it's like, like kids, like they play. You see two babies or toddlers playing. Have you seen this? Where there's like, they're in a room of toys, just say two little babies, and one of them takes what the other kid has, and then they start crying. And then usually the adult is like, look, you can either teaches a sharing lesson or says, look, there's so many other things. And the kid is like, no, but I wanted that one, like it's kind of a childish mindset to think that there's only one toy to play with in a sea of toys. So you're enough. You are worthy. You are worthy of praise and valuing yourself. So get in the habit of doing that. And you deserve unconditional love. Open yourself to it from yourself and from others. And then more of the outward steps. Be clear on your own vision, your own desires for your life. And again, the 4-H method is designed to help you get clear on that, especially in regards to your fitness and health. So you're creating from a place of what you want rather than what is being told to you. And you create your own unique journey, which you don't need to compare or compete when you're doing it, your own unique journey. Trust yourself step by step. Trust yourself to take the next best step forward and support and cheer others on, especially those who are in possession of something that you might want. Because when you're giving that to them, you're also giving it to yourself, and there's enough for everyone. Let me know how this was helpful. If there was a specific point or something that I said that stood out to you. Use this as a way to turn comparison and the negatives of comparison into compassion for yourself and fuel to go live the life that you want to live. Okay? Go enjoy your day. Be kind to yourself. And I'll see you next time, or talk to you next time.
Hey, you reached the end of this episode. Thank you so much for your time and energy listening to this. I appreciate it so much. If you would be so kind and generous as to leave a positive review for this podcast, it would mean so much to the growth of this so that more people can benefit from it. And even more, it would mean even more if you shared this personally with someone who you think would be able to benefit from this, who would appreciate and enjoy it. Please do that. Always feel free to reach out to me with questions or comments, michelle@mlroscoe.com, or you can find me on Instagram at michelle-lynn-roscoe. Always happy to hear from you. And if you're ready to commit, to take action to making your healthiest life from a place of already enough, join the 4-H method. Make your body your home, your health, your hero journey. The link is in the show notes. Like you, love you, Coach Michelle.